Good morning, this is Mama, and today we're going to make the foo mask, and it is available from freesewing.org. The name of it says Florence on here, but I just Googled the FU mask, and it says freesewing.org, docs, docs/patterns/Florence/instructions. But if you look for FU mask, I know that sounds bad, but that's the name of the mask. And so anyway, it comes with small, medium, and large patterns, and I print that out on cardstock. So let me set you down here and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, I lay my fabric out and I iron it. I started this video once and my mask or my iron was not hot, so I spray it with a little bit of Faultless heavy hold starch is what I'm using today. I like magic sizing the best, but this gives it a little bit of body and a little more substance to your fabric. So I do both sides. And so you're cutting your fabric with pretty sides together, or the right side. Those are together. So and then I cut 4 layers at a time. So I'm just going to stack them up. This is the lining, which I'll use, and this is not this lining is not quilting cotton. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's very lightweight and it's like a lining, and people seem to like that better. We're not so much worried now about preventing the virus as we are about being legal to keep everybody happy. Actually, you could make out of 1 layer of lining fabric, and that's legal. So you can wear these gator masks. You can make it out of pretty much whatever you want. As long as you can breathe through it, it's fine. That's the goal. Okay, so I'll put the right sides together for this one. This is the lining. I'm going to cut these all together at the same time. Let's give this a little bit. Everything needs to be de-wrinkled before you cut. I don't ever use wrinkled fabric in anything I make. And I pre-wash all my fabric because I use a lot of cotton, and cotton's going to shrink. So you might create something that looks great and works great, but if it was cotton and you didn't pre-wash it and shrink it, it'll turn out later to not be an acceptable project. So you just kind of wasted your time. All right, so there we have it. We have the lining. We need 2 layers of that. Whoops, can't get it. There we go. So that's like these little roses, little purple roses. And then this one it's a little blue flower. And tiny prints look good on the mask more so. And blue seems to be really popular. If I have blue masks, I sell out of them. All right, let me get my pattern, which I had out. Here we go. This is going to be a medium. Let me show you the 3. Here's a medium. I printed it on cardstock. Like I have 3 mediums. I make a lot. This is a custom one for a friend of mine. It's made just to suit him, a little lower under the eyes. This is the large mask. So you just cut out which size you want, and so I needed the large. So it's printed. All 3 of them are on that one. There's a paper one of a small, and here's a large one I have cut out. So anyway, today we're going to do a medium. Put that back in our box. Okay, to mark this, we use a friction. Sorry about that. We use a friction pin. There's probably one on this table somewhere, but I have no idea where. All right, so let me move my fabric over on the cutting mat. So make sure you don't get any self edges in your mask. So I'm right beside the self edge. So I take my friction pen, which and it's FRIXION Clicker 07 erasable. I just go around and trace it. I bought these pens from Sam's Club. It was a pack of several, and it had some different colors in it, and it was $10 for a pack of them. And I was having trouble finding them, but I just noticed them on Sam's Club, and I have a Sam's Club Plus membership, so I can just order stuff and have it shipped to my house for free. So, turn these so you get the best. Use your fabric wisely. There we go. All right. So I'm going to have 2 here, 2 full masks. And I'll show you how I cut them. All right, the straight edges, I use my rotary cutter. You got to be careful that you don't go too far. So just put it right there. So you have 2 lines on this mask that you can use your rotary cutter. And I'll show you how this disappearing ink, how you make it disappear. Give me just a second here. Get this. Cut these straight lines with the rotary cutter. Just makes it all a little faster. There we go. Trying to get that extra off. It's too small for my crumb quilting, so we'll throw that away. Let's cut this off. Get that out of the way. All right, you need your good scissors. And these are Friskers. It's just the scissors my mother used, and so that's the same ones I use. Same brand. It's not her scissors. And I sharpen them by using aluminum foil. Just snip the aluminum foil until your scissors are sharp again. And I have made an error on the second layer of this particular mask. Doesn't hurt to see the mistakes. We live and learn. See this one? I don't have enough on the front of the mask. So this one will be cut into quilt squares, pieces. We'll lay that aside. All right. Some people can use the rotary cutter on this curve. If you have a smaller rotary cutter, it's better. But I don't do that. I just use my scissors. I'm not too good with the rotary cutter. So you're supposed to kind of like leave the ink on your fabric, not on the mask, because you're cutting around the pattern. So see, we have these little bits of the ink still showing on the mask. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit of black. I can make a mark. There we go. Here's a dot. Okay, so you just take your iron and iron over it. And it disappeared. Now they say if you put this in a freezer, that dot will come back. So I guess remember that if you're going to be wearing your mask out in the cold, you might want to mark it another way. Okay, hold on. Our next step is to start sewing. Okay, now we're at the sewing machine. We're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down the front of this mask. I think the pattern says that the seam allowance is not included, but it works just fine saying that it does, because that's the way I've made over 100 of these. So anyway, we do our 1/4 inch seam down the front of the mask. And by the front of the mask, I mean this side here. Can you see the shape? It's got this little point at the top that come down, it's a little curve. So, and then I chain stitch those, just one right after the other. And I use cotton thread. And there's one more good one. We'll go ahead and do it while we're here. All right. Take them over here and snip them apart. Okay, now we're back at the sewing table, so we're going to snip these apart, just that little bitty thread, and cut the long thread off. Put that in the trash. This mask is a little bit wrinkled, so I'm going to repress it. Go ahead and make sure we got all the ink off anyway. Alright. So now we need to snip the curve on the front of the mask. So you just take your scissors and just every little bit in the curves, take a snip so that when you turn this mask, it turns easily and lays flat on the front. Actually, this is part of the job that I like the least, is snipping these curves of these masks. The rest of it doesn't bother me too much, but I don't like doing this part. I don't have anybody else to delegate to. I don't know how, you gotta be careful not to snip your thread. If you want to check, you just pull it, pick it up and look at it and pull it apart and see if it went through the thread or not. That's how I check. So far, so good on this one. Sometimes I snip it and don't know, but okay. So now we're ready to iron the mask open so they can be assembled. So I lay it down. Let me do it this way so you can see. I lay the mask down and then I come in and I go like this to the middle seam. So it's all ironed to one side. And I'll lay that one aside. And then I do the lining. Same way. I don't change anything. And when I put this on, the seams will be opposite. Okay. So now we are going to put right sides together. And we need some pins. The first thing I do is get these two seams, one going one way, one going the other, and put one pin in right down that seam line. Then you got to kind of shift a little bit to get your mask to line up, because everything's curved. It kind of does a little shifting. You can't get it straight. These pins are really sharp. This pin cushion is a steel wool pin cushion. I'm getting ready to switch to walnut shells because it's not as aggravating as the steel wool. Steel wool kind of got on my table as I was making the pin cushion. So I had to take a magnet and get it off. I lick my fingers in order to hold the fabric, but my hands are so dry. So, that might work for you, might not. All right, just try to get those lined up the best you can. And so on the bottom of the mask, which is, this is upright, so the flatter side of it, the curved side is the top, the flatter side is the bottom. On the bottom, I put one pin in the seam, one on the left, and one on the right. That's all. And I'm not a big pinner, but this needs pinning. Okay, so on the top of the mask, I have 1, 2 on each side and 1 in the seam. So it's 5 on the top of the mask. Okay, so hold on and we'll sew that together. Okay, we're back at the sewing machine. I have my mask pinned together, right sides together. Lining in the outside is the quilting cotton. The inside is just a very thin fabric that's breathable. Just hold it up and try to breathe through it. So a back stitch, and I just do a 1/4 inch seam going by the edge of my foot. The foot on here is like a zigzag foot. Okay, and then you make sure your seam is one going one way and one going the other. When you get to this top, you kind of curve around this point. You don't drive up into the point there. Just kind of curve around. And be sure to back stitch. It helps whenever you're turning it that you don't mess it up. So that was the top. We sewed the top together. You can see, there we go. And now we're going to do the bottom. So my sewing machine came out around 1980 or 81. It's a Sears Kenmore 12 stitch. You can't really buy parts for it anymore, but this one hadn't been worn out yet, so I use it just about daily. I have some other machines that I really like that they're straight stitches, but they don't have a back stitch, and you kind of need a back stitch on these. So this is what I use. All right, now we're ready to turn our mask. There's the bottom sewn together. So we have the opening on each side of the mask, the part that ends up near your ear. So hold on. Okay, we're ready to turn the mask. So you just open the hole of the sides, shove it through, and then take your fingers and kind of push out that top point. And kind of push on the bottom seam, just so it kind of comes on out. Okay, so now I'm ready to iron it. You don't have to iron it, but I find it better. After we iron it, we're going to top stitch around the outer edge. So I'm on the right side. I do one side, top and bottom, and push my iron into that seam. Then we do the other side, and you just roll that fabric until it's as perfect as you want it. So there's mine. You can't really. I try not to just let the lining show. And this mask is actually reversible. You could wear it either way. Originally, they said use 2 layers of heavy cotton fabric. They even suggested using cotton duck. Let me tell you something. If you're walking around with cotton duck fabric on your face and 2 layers, you're in pain if you wear that all day long. Cotton duck is too thick and coarse to wear on your face all day. Okay, so now we're ready to turn the sides of the mask inward. So you just poke a little bit down, maybe a 1/2 inch or so. I just roll it in, and it doesn't have to be exact. No one's going to know if you screwed up by 1/4 of an inch. Just roll a little in and iron it down. There we go. Looks good. Now just pull it tight so it lays the way it will after it's ironed. Just pull it snug. And iron both sides of that to form a good crease. Now to get this point just right, roll it around and get it to where it looks right, and then you take your iron, the point of it, and iron in from the top. And then I do it also from the bottom. You know what? I just remembered I forgot to clip this mask. The bottom is not turning, it's not laying down well enough. So if you go back, maybe you should do this before you turn your mask. That's what I should have done. At the bottom, on each side of that seam, it has to have a clip in order for it to not have a little knot when you're wearing it. And a couple more clips is good. So, and then on the top, where the curved nose piece is, clip on each side of the seam to release that a little bit. And then there's a curve. Can you see this curve? So I clip into that curve a little bit. Yes, and often I forget to do it, and I have to return them and do it again. So let's do this side. It just makes the, this is kind of aggravating, but it just makes the whole mask just lay better. And then if you're going to be wearing this every day and throwing it in the washing machine, just go ahead and make it good. Those little clips will make all the difference in the world about how that mask lays flat. Okay, so I'm going to iron again. Having to open it up and clip it and do it back, it's better to just go on and do it, because I've not done it, and it's an aggravation when you go to do your top stitching. And it's also a little more like it makes a knot at the base underneath of your chin right here. There's a little bit of a knot there. So just want to make a great mask and clip it. I always regret not clipping. I've done some and then forgot and didn't clip them. So I rolled a little bit in, about a 1/2 inch, and ironing that down. A little starch would be good if I was going to take the time, but I'm not. Okay. My iron's just warm. Apparently I had turned it off. We'll get it back on here. There we go, heating up now. So anyway, a good hot iron helps that crease stay in a little better. A little less aggravating. We can all use a little less aggravation. Okay. Got a little boo-boo. Gotta reset this one. Kind of ironed it out. Okay, so there's what our mask looks like now. So these are turned in. And we're going to stick our mask ties in here, which are made, the mask ties are made of t-shirt yarn. And I have a video on how to make t-shirt yarn. And so here's my mask ties. They're made from t-shirt yarn and they're 18 inches long. So now we're going to put those on. Now we're going to, well, we top stitch around the outside of the mask. We're going to put the ties in, and I'll show you how we do that. I was just going to show you this real quick. This is all my colors of thread. So whatever color mask I'm working on, usually there's a bobbin and a spool of thread sitting right beside me so I can just switch it out real quickly. And so generally I make the mask, the thread of the mask match the whatever side I'm sewing. Today I'm using white on both sides because I don't have a light blue, and white looks fine on the baby blue and it looks fine on this lining. Okay, I start on the, if you look at the mask, I start stitching right here and go down this side. I have like a system that I just do it and redo it. So I put in the tie just by, I just stick the tie in there about a ½ inch. There we go, like that. And then I sew very, very close. Let me see if I can get you a little bit closer. I sew very close to the edge of the mask. And there's the first time over the string, and then I go backwards and then back again. And then after I get that tacked down, I put the next string in for the bottom of the mask. And then I turn. And this is where the clipping makes a difference. When you go around this, it makes it a lot easier if you clipped. This is a terrible view. And I really don't know how to fix that. I wonder if this will work. No. All right. I'm just going to sew and you can make a good guess at it. I'm not sure what the problem is about the view with the light. So I just sew, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. It's pretty close. Sometimes it's right on the edge. But I do it pretty fast and it's not always perfect, but they always look good. So I'm going to turn, back stitch, and then after I back stitch, I put in the last string, and then I pull a little bit. It's better if the needle is down. And so then I pull a little bit, and that gets your crease back into your side of the mask. Go down this side, back stitch, and then we turn one more time, and this is our last little run. We go around the top of the mask. And so you make sure that you end really close to the ones where you started, because then that makes it easier to clip the threads. So we'll go back over to the table. And okay, so we have it all sewn together. We need to clip our threads, and this is how I clip the threads, because when I do this, I do about 10 at a time. So I just grab all 4 threads, top and bottom, and they're really close together, and I put my scissors in and snip that side, and then I snip this side. All 4 threads are in my hand and gone. Okay, so now we have the faux mask with white strings. The great lining is really thin. You can actually see through it. Okay, so I'm going to try it on. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to put it on. Put it up over the ears and tie it in the back, or you can tie it under your nose if you have arm and shoulder issues. A lot of people just tie it under their nose and then go around. I keep missing my little thing. There we go. All right, and you tie it loose. It's not tight, so you know you can pull it out. It's not tight. So then the bottom one has one purpose. That's to keep from losing it. So you tie that very, very loose. And then, okay, so you're wearing your mask. And I put my hair over mine. So you lift it up and put it on your nose. Put your thumbs out. Put it on your ears. And this is the t-shirt yarn. So this does not hurt your ears. It's just great. Soft, 100% cotton t-shirt yarn. And so that's the Foo mask. And everybody seems to like it better than the others. So if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments, and I'll try to put the link to the sewing, to the pattern for this mask. And thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe.